Give us a snapshot of where Scranton is right now, and particularly with respect to what we just heard from Katie. How does the infrastructure development fit into your future growth plans?
Scranton really embodies the opportunity of small city America. We're 80,000 people, the hub of a valley of 600,000, just 2.5 hours from New York City. But we're up here in these beautiful mountains. I could ski 10 minutes away from my office. We've seen a lot of new folks coming into town, retirees knowing that their retirement income isn't taxed in Pennsylvania, entrepreneurs wanting to start a business with low overhead costs, but still be able to access the city and the surrounding area. We've got families coming in wanting to buy a home that's a fraction of what they would pay in northern New Jersey or New York or Connecticut. So we have a lot of opportunity here because of our geographic location, our entrepreneurial and industrial history. We still have a lot of that base. We actually have 11% of our jobs are manufacturing, so that hasn't gone away completely. We've got a lot of defense manufacturing, and we're seeing that grow. There was a $250 million investment in a local munitions plant just last year, so we're seeing some of that reshoring coming online. So Scranton's growing. Our whole region is growing. We're primed for that growth. The infrastructure funds that are coming through the bipartisan infrastructure law are helping us to really make sure that we're ready for that. Our roads, our bridges, our stormwater, those kind of mundane pieces, but also we're looking forward to putting online an Amtrak passenger rail line from Scranton to New York City, which would really open up our economy.
So I'm glad you went there, because I want to talk about that Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. And we hear a lot about Washington. You spent some time in Washington, the government there. Are you seeing the money yet? Are you actually developing some projects, building some things in Scranton? And if not now, when?
Yeah, the Amtrak corridor, we got the Corridor ID award just back in, I believe it was December. So that is coming along. That's funding through the $66 billion for Amtrak in that bill. We're seeing lots of progress on the streetscapes. We want to redo all of the streets in our downtown with traffic calming measures. We've got our grants in there. We've got some of the funding set. We're waiting for some of the matching, but over the next 1 to 3 years, we should be able to get that project done. The state, our PennDOT, they're going to do lots of our bridges, to the point where I've been laughing with some of my other mayors that my whole city is going to be shut down because all the bridges are getting done. So it's careful what you wish for. You want all your bridges to be repaired, but then you're going to have the complaints from the residents about the traffic. But these are all really, really wonderful things. We've got an electric vehicle fleet for our code enforcement fleet, so they're all over the city. They're now really showing what electric vehicles can do, and they're branded and showing all the great work we're doing across the city. So the infrastructure bill is touching Scranton in a lot of different ways, and there's more to come, especially on broadband. We've had a lot of interest from, I think it's almost six or more broadband companies wanting to get that ubiquitous internet here in Scranton. Because of our size, around 80,000 people, we're a good test case. So we've had these companies pitch us to be the pilot for them, how to get ubiquitous internet, get it to all the residents, no one left behind. Then they want to be able to build that here in a place like Scranton and then get it into some of the larger cities. So we're very excited about that. That's something that we'll be able to offer not just to our residents, but to small business owners and entrepreneurs who want to build up their base here.
Right. Well, the broadband point is fascinating, especially when you think about Scranton as a potential test case. But I want to talk a little bit more about infrastructure and, of course, that potential Amtrak passenger line. Now, if that comes through, I want to talk a little bit more about funding. Would you be looking to private sources of funding as well when it comes to actually completing it?
So the rail line itself and those stations, that would be publicly funded. But all of the amenities around that, we would be looking for private funding. So, for example, we used to have this line. This line existed until 1970. My ancestors actually took a train from Scranton and settled in Montana in 1892. So here I am 130 or so years later, pitching to get passenger rail back to Scranton. But that infrastructure exists, but we need to reimagine it for the modern day. So our entire west end of our city, we'll be looking for investment on the amenities around the train platform, around the station. We'd be looking for hotels. We'd love to see a soccer stadium here. We'd like to bring more sports and tourism and entertainment to Scranton. So we'd be looking for that private investment around the train coming online.
So, Mayor, everything you described sounds like there's real promise for Scranton in the medium and long term. What about the short term and the voters of Scranton right now? Do they give the Biden administration credit for some of the things you're describing right now? Certainly the Biden administration wants that credit. We do, after all, have an election coming up.
We do. We work very hard to make sure that our residents know that the investments we're making through the American Rescue Plan are made possible by President Biden. This is his hometown. He, rode his bike around all the column dumps when the anthracite coal mining was still going on here. He knows what it's like to be part of a family that has to pick up and move because a father loses a job. That's always on his mind, and we've been able to tailor programs from childcare support to GED programs for justice-involved youth. We've been able to support the Boys and Girls Club. We've also been able to support violence prevention. Then we've done things like wage boost with our small businesses as we help our small businesses meet that gap between what the market is paying and what they can afford. We want to keep those small businesses here. We want the wages to go up, so we've been helping them do that. That's the beauty of the American Rescue Plan, is the president gave those funds directly to the cities. We're able to make the programs work for our residents. We do as much as we can to make sure our residents know that that's coming from the president, and I've got a great team working on that. It's important to tell those stories so that people know where that funding is coming from.
Well, finally, to ask the political question, Pennsylvania is a key state in the upcoming presidential election. Do you think that it will actually go Democrat, from what you know of the voters in Scranton and around your valley?
I do think, we're a little biased here in northeastern Pennsylvania. The president is from here. He's from just up the street, literally, that City Hall is on. Senator Casey is also from here. He's lived here all of his life. So we're slightly biased to the sons of Scranton in that way. But when it comes down to the economy, and I believe that voters really at the end of the day vote on how they're feeling in that moment, and that how they're feeling is usually tied to their pocketbook, they realize that the types of programs that the Biden administration supports, the child tax credit that Senator Casey is supporting, those are things that really help people get by. This has been a very difficult few years for folks, and inflation pressures are still very much alive. And we've got a water rate increase here that we're fighting in Scranton. These are real issues that President Biden and Senator Casey understand, and I think the voters of Pennsylvania will get that at the end of the day, and we'll vote for both of those too.